Lindsay Wagner is best known for her role as Jaime Summers in the $6 Million Man spinoff, The Bionic Woman. By the time the show came to an end in 1978, it had made two significant impacts. First, it gave little girls one of their first role models to look up to. Second, it had taken both a mental and physical toll on its star. In this video, we're going to look at what Lindsay Wagner has been up to over the 5 decades since the show aired. Make sure you watch to the end to learn what's coming next for Lindsay. In an interview with the Indianapolis Star, Wagner revealed she hid out and spent a lot of time alone after the show went off the air. She had a lot of recuperating to do emotionally and physically. After months of switching emotions in rehearsals and on screen, she found it hard to switch back into her private life. She felt like she had become programmed and had to set her own life aside for the good of the series. It took her a little while to retrain herself to get to a point where she could go at her own pace again. Her troubles were compounded by the fact she wasn't the athletic type, but was playing a role that required lots of running, jumping, and fighting. The work was exhausting, and the pressure of trying to make the show good added to her burden. She cared about the series' success and invested her emotions completely. Wagner felt she had become more Jaime Summers than Lindsay Wagner. Born Lindsay Jean Wagner on June 22, 1949, her first name was the result of her father having been determined to have a son. She didn't like the name when she was a girl, but found it had some advantages when she got older, and people would assume she was male before meeting her. Wagner's parents divorced when she was only 7 years old and ended up moving to Eagle Rock, LA. After her mother remarried, Wagner ended up practically raising her little sister, the child her mother had with her new husband. She started acting because she wanted to connect with people emotionally. If no one was going to do that for her, she wanted to do it for others. When she was young, she would tend bar at her mother's parties rather than play with dolls. She didn't learn how to play with cutouts until her little sister taught her when she was 16. Wagner appeared in a number of plays during her years at David Douglas High School. When she graduated, she went to France for a few months, then spent a year at the University of Oregon and Mount Hood Community College. She dropped out soon after and moved to LA. Once there, she started modeling and got a taste of acting by appearing on the Playboy After Dark TV show. She was a contestant on The Dating Game shortly after and in 1971 signed a contract with Universal Studios as one of its many contract players. She guest starred on many shows like Adam 12, Night Gallery, and Marcus Welby, MD. She also acted on the big screen, appearing in Two People and The Paper Chase in 1973. She received critical praise for the roles and was proclaimed a rising star. She wasn't pursuing stardom, however. She felt it put a barrier between an actor and life, making them less of a person. Wagner doesn't want to be put on a pedestal as an actor and wants people to treat her as a normal person. She wants people to look her in the eye and respect her for what she's doing, but as a person, not an image. One of the breakout hits of the 70s was The $6 Million Man. Astronaut Steve Austin is equipped with bionic parts that turn him into a sort of Superman after a devastating accident. Austin carried out missions for the OSI, a secret government agency. As such, there wasn't much in the way of romance in the show, which its star, Lee Majors, wanted to change. He felt the first 2 years were kind of boring, with most episodes having him fight one bad guy or another in all kinds of strange locations. He wanted to bring in a love interest, which is where Lindsay Wagner came in. She played tennis pro Jaime Summers, Steve Austin's former sweetheart. The two are reunited and fall back in love, but Summers is nearly killed in a parachuting accident. Austin convinces his superiors to save her life by giving her bionic parts as well. She survives the operation, but her body later rejects the bionic parts and she dies. To the audience's surprise, they secretly managed to save her life, and she returned in the 2-part Return of the Bionic Woman, which was spun off into her own show. While this was good news, her memory was lost and had no memory of Steve, so they had to start over again. Lindsay was perfect for the role of Jaime Summers. She was pretty, but not Hollywood gorgeous, making her a believable girl-next-door type. The audience immediately fell in love with her, and was devastated when she died. There was a tremendous pressure on Universal to bring her back as Jaime Summers, but the studio had let her contract lapse. The studio suggested other actresses that could play the role, including Sally Field, Stephanie Powers, and Farrah Fawcett, but ABC wouldn't have it. They wanted Lindsay Wagner in the role. The first offer from Universal was for $2,500 per episode, but Wagner's manager, Ron Samuels, countered with $25,000. The studio was outraged at this number, but ended up paying Wagner $50,000 for the return of the Bionic Woman. The two-part episode was a bigger hit than anyone expected, and everyone involved demanded a spin-off series. Universal had only signed Wagner to a two-part special extension of her contract and had to sign a very exclusive deal to get her to do the show. She ended up taking the studio and the network to the bank. After the show ended in 1978, Wagner took some time to decompress. It wasn't long before she started acting again. She felt strongly about staying in TV because it was the most influential type of media. Fortunately, the snobbish attitude of the industry towards TV was starting to weaken at this point, so she could work in both film and TV. She appeared alongside Sylvester Stallone in Nighthawks and James Brolin in High Risk, both in 1981. She also appeared with Denzel Washington in Ricochet 10 years later. But she was most prolific in TV, starring in more than 50 series between 1979 and 2018. This included 3 $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman reunion movies. Outside the acting business, Wagner has spent a lot of her life involved with various self-help programs. She wrote a series of books with Robert M. Klein about acupuncture being used for similar results to facelifts. She wrote a vegetarian cookbook called High Road to Health, and she's put together workshops and seminars about spirituality and meditation. She says she's been fascinated with the body, mind, and spirit connection her entire life. When she was 19, she became quite sick. She had severe ulcers that were healed after she met someone who helped her with meditation, visualization, and looking at her own emotions and psychological patterns and how they lead to stress. She realized the stress of what she was dealing with in her family life was causing her to get sick. After focusing on the self-help work for a number of years, she got the sense a change was coming that would get her back into acting. The people at a show called Warehouse 13 approached her soon after about joining the show. After some self-reflection, she realized that while she didn't miss the hours it required, she missed the creative process of acting. In her private life, Wagner has been married 4 times. To music publisher Alan Ryder from 1971 to 73, Michael Brandon from 76 to 79, stuntman Henry Kingi from 1981 to 84, and TV producer Lawrence Mortoff from 1990 to 93. She and Henry have 2 sons, Dorian, born in 1982, and Alex, born in 86. Even though The Bionic Woman went off the air more than 40 years ago, it lives on. Both Lindsay and Lee Majors have embraced the popularity of their shared experiences on those shows, taking part in DVD sets and talking about the shows at various conventions. While some wonder why these particular shows have such longevity, Wagner has some theories about why The Bionic Woman does. She thinks part of the success was due to the way the show broke molds in our culture. It was the first show with a female main character who was in full power with no excuses and not having to be a sidekick to a man. Wagner continues to take roles that catch her attention. You'll see her next in a movie called Christmas at the Ranch, currently in post-production and releasing later this year. What was more surprising to you, that Wagner is a self-help expert, or that she nearly quit acting several times? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.